It is card number 79 from the 1953 Bowman Color set, Ray Boone. I remember that card being tricky to find because the background is so heavily black from the stadium, and I was happy with the one that I found because it didn't have snow. So if it's card number 79, it must be session number 79 of Card Room Live. Everybody in here knows this, but if you're new, you may not realize that this is not a show. It is a hangout. That's what we call it. We call it a hangout for fellow vintage collectors. Sometimes we have guests like we do tonight, but most of the time, even when we have guests, we're just wasting time looking at and talking about cardboard, and through it all, we try to make it time well wasted. If you're here with us live, welcome to you. I see a bunch of comments. The bar was open early tonight. Welcome. If you're a new person, especially welcome to you. I hope you'll introduce yourself, but also welcome to the lurkers and the people that don't comment, because that's okay too. I hope you chat it up, because the thing that makes this always fun are the comments. On the other hand, if you're listening to this later, whether you are going to or coming home from work, sorting cards, looking at eBay, walking the dog, sitting on the John, thinking about Eddie Wakus, wondering if Reese ND Card Ranger will ever do a video about his new card room like he promised he would and still hasn't done. Whatever you might be doing, I hope you get something out of it. If you have ideas for future sessions, or if you just want to connect, you can always reach me at bowman53channel@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Bowman53_Alex, or on Twitter at 1953 Bowman Color. And of course, all that information is in the description below. I am very happy that I have been connecting with some fellow collectors and do have some guests lined up for the foreseeable future. And sprinkled in there are going to also be good old-fashioned random sessions where who knows what's going to happen. Really quickly, I did want to mention that I opened up my YouTube channel today, and I discovered that today is my channel's birthday, which sounds really strange to say. My channel had a birthday, and it's today. 6 years ago today, on March 3rd, 2018, I posted my first video. My first video was a 53-second video about this card of Gil Hodges, and I haven't stopped. So it's been 6 years, and it's been fun. And anybody that's ever watched a video or commented or connected with me, you should know that it's appreciated, because YouTube definitely has made collecting a lot of fun. So I did want to mention that. But we've got a guest that's waiting to come on board, and this is not a new guest. We've had this gentleman on in the past. And the last time we had him on, we had him talking about a set that he built, and we're going to do the same thing tonight. So let's bring him on. Kurt, how are you?
Hey, Alex. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on again.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me back. I was maybe I thought I got blacklisted or something like 1919, but all good.
Not yet. We'll see how this goes. So, all right. So last time we did 55 Bowman, and that's actually how I have you in my phone, by the way. Like I've got you as like Kurt 55 Bowman. That's how I see you. But you collect other stuff, and you collect a lot of other stuff, but tonight we're going to focus on 1954 Bowman. And I've got some feelings about this set. I think this set is really interesting and has some really great cards in it, but I'd like to hear from you first. And obviously we're going to look at cards and stuff, but can you remember what prompted you? Like, how did you get into this set? Because you actually built the whole set. How did that start?
Yeah, I built a 55 set very quickly over a few months, and just had a blast doing it. And about 2/3 of the way through, I thought maybe I'll do another set. And I don't have a million cards. I have a very small collection, but I did have, just happened to be that I had card number 1 already, Phil Rizzuto.
Okay.
And I was like, damn it. Okay, it's on.
How did you end up with the Phil Rizzuto card?
It happened to be one of the cards that I inherited when my grandfather passed.
Oh,
and
wow.
So I have his copy, which is kind of banged up, but here it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let's just build this set. And then I did a little research into the set and, realized it was price point pretty reachable.
Yes.
And lengthwise also not overwhelming.
Yeah.
The colors of the set I think are really underrated. And some of the shots are incredible. And I think the set itself, what I've learned when building it, was it's a perfect time to talk about the set because now it's like spring training, right?
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. So you're giving us a little hint. All right. So,
So I think just realizing that I had card number 1 and that it was doable, and I thought the set was, pretty dang cool. After I looked into it a bit, was kind of what I jumped in both feet.
right. So, like, where along your like timeline of collecting did you start to build this set? Like, was this one of the first ones that you decided to go after?
This is only my second full vintage set build, and like a lot of people, my whole collecting trajectory, or whatever you want to call that, was collecting as a kid and then going away from it in 1997 or 98, and then going away to school, and then coming back to it mid 2020. And the 55 set was sort of a fun test of like, people hate this set or love this set.
Yeah.
Right. And so I guess it was, probably about 2/3 of the way through building the 55 set when I realized I wanted to build another one. And 54 just made total sense. And that time period too, as we've talked about, Alex, and New York City baseball, et cetera, was just like, it's off the charts there.
Right.
So
all good reasons. Okay. So we should probably, before we get into the history, because I know you've been doing a lot of research on this, which is fantastic. Let's look at some cards, because I think if we don't look at cards, people will protest and will give thumbs down. How about 3? Well, you know what? I mean, if you just have some cards you want to pull and show us to get us started, that's fine. Or if you need a prompt.
Well, you did ask, like, why is this set worth going after? And then what makes it special? And I learned this during the set build. I think there's 2 points to it. First is the spring training aspect.
Right.
I found at least 16 cards that look like there are palm trees in the background, and I pulled a couple of those. A couple of Philly guys to start for you, Alex.
Thank you.
Philadelphia Athletics actually to start, and this would be the number 67 Carl Scheib. You can see the background has some palm trees.
Right.
And then even better than that is card number 127, Del Ennis of the Phillies, has one very clear.
Yeah, I love that card. I actually have that on a wish list.
And the 54 cards, they all have some very boring, some not so boring trivia questions on the back.
Okay.
Very Bowman, right? And this one from Del Ennis is, can a first base umpire reverse a home plate umpire's decision? And the answer is no. All umpires' decisions are final, which, of course, today
is debatable. Can you show that Del Ennis one more time?
Oh, sure.
One of the reasons I like that card so much is actually the color combo of his signature at the bottom with the yellow box. And I don't know, did you, and maybe we're jumping ahead to something, but did you discover anything about those boxes in the signature?
Some have, the vast majority of the cards have a facsimile signature. Some just have printed names.
Right.
And I didn't look into why or the number or like the quantity, but it's mostly facsimile autos, and some of them really don't look like Mantles. Doesn't look like Mantles.
Yeah.
Right? So I think there was probably some guessing going on by someone at Bowman.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of always assumed that they just like literally pulled them off of the Bowman contract and just kind of sectioned them off and stuck them on there, because they're not They're not terribly interesting from a design perspective, but I like them anyway. I don't know how you feel about them.
No, I think they're super cool. And again, I do actually think after looking at the set some more and comparing it to 54 Tops, I actually think it's, graphic design wise, it pales in comparison, but in terms of just baseball picture and baseball imagery, it stands above that. And people can argue that and kill me in the comments if they want. The other thing I kind of did, and I couldn't help myself with the spring training part of it, was rabbit holing down the history of spring training,
right?
Which is pretty wonderful, according to Wikipedia anyway. According to Wikipedia, it says that Boss Tweed, who was the Democratic Tammany Hall corruption boss in New York City at the time, sent the New York Mutuals to New Orleans in 1869. Others joined in the 1870s in D.C., Savannah, and Cape May, New Jersey. And in 1888, the Washington Nationals were the first club to train in Florida. And of all people, Cap Anson argued that players would be more prone to sore muscles and colds after returning north. And then my favorite part of the of the lore of spring training was by the mid 1880s, Hot Springs, Arkansas became the spot. And it was famously where on St. Patrick's Day, 1918, Babe Ruth was, quote unquote, forced to play an emergency game, unquote, at first base against Pittsburgh. And he hit 2 home runs that day, including, this is ridiculous, a 573-foot shot that landed across the street, quote, in a pond of the Arkansas Alligator Farm and Petting Zoo, unquote. So there's no way he hit it that far, and come on, but it's fun.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I guess in the other part of the set that I fell in love with was the dugout shots. So many good dugout shots from including Hoot Evers is really cool.
Yeah.
Right. And there's some others as well, but that to me is a really cool part of the set, is so many dugout cards, which I'll get to a little bit later.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, when you stop and think about it, it seems like as a photographer, they sort of run out of ideas after a while. It's like, how many other photographs can you take of a player with the bat or his glove or whatever? And I actually think you're right that putting the players in the dugout it seems kind of obvious, but it's like, let's get them off the field and put them in some other environment. And it makes for a really unique image because we just don't see it that often.
Yeah. Yeah. They were trying to get creative. There were a lot of the, what I call the high school yearbook shots of like, the kneeling, like the first card in the set. It's kind of like the posed shot, but it's pretty great because it has 2 bats and it's just pure Rizzuto Yankee baseball.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So the biggest prompt the one that I'm most excited about, show 3 cards from this set that you think capture the ambience of 50s baseball.
I cheated again, Alex. I think I have 4.
Okay.
And then another rabbit hole of first one is Cincinnati Redlegs, not Reds, catcher Hobie Landreth. His card number 220, almost the end of the set. You can see without the glare. He's of course, his backward cap is literally a cap.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just face mask under his arm and his gear, and there's no real headgear there, right?
Right.
So I don't know exactly when that changed, but 1954, that was still a thing. And actually, there's a great question on the back of this one: what American president coached his college team? And the answer to that's Woodrow Wilson at Princeton.
I did not know that. That's cool.
Similar to the previous dugout card, but Jim Dykes card, number 85 with the Orioles, an infielder. I just love that card.
Yeah.
The choking up on the bat rack.
Yes, just barely in the foreground. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
The fit of the pants, the 3/4 sleeves. That's really great. And there's you can't see any branding really beyond it, like on the field or definitely not in the dugout shots.
Right.
So that's very, 1950s to me. And then Jackie Cullum, number 204, left-handed pitcher with Cincinnati, also red legs, not Reds, because of the communist scare, probably.
Right.
And his windup here caught as left-handed pitcher is pretty cool to me. I just like that a lot, and wanted to get some cards that weren't just New York City in the mix tonight. So that's a really good shot. And the other card that I'm going to show, which is sort of like cheating and back to New York, has the same exact trivia question on the back of this one as this one.
Oh man,
the mantle, which is again the M's on the mantle don't make sense to me from the facsimile auto.
Yeah.
But the question on the back that's on the previous card in this one is, what modern American leaguer is first to have a batting average of over 400 in a decade? And the answer is Williams 41-406. And we all know the next card in the set is number 66.
Yes.
Which we'll get to later again.
Questions about, yeah.
They're already blown up, right? But that card is just, I think it's, it's pretty special, like the mantle here.
That is a great looking mantle card. Yeah.
And then none other than Brian Roth found this at a show for me.
Naturally.
In raw condition. He's like, pay for this and I'll get it to you.
kind of a side question, but how many other
there's a good
how many other mantles do you have so far?
Base, just this one and the 55.
Okay.
I'll actually be selling a 60 tops. I have that as well. So just a few. I have some leaders cards, and I have a few copies of one of my favorite 60s cards, which is a 64 tops card with Mantle, Maris, Cash, and K-Line.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious where you see the 54 Bowman among Mantle's cards, like if you were ranking them in terms of your favorites.
That's a good question. I think probably just behind the 52 Bowman.
Okay.
I think that one is just special. And his 56 tops is pretty great.
Okay.
I like that. But I think overall, I would probably go 152 Bowman, 54 Bowman.
Wow. Really up there. Cool.
53 Bowman after that color.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly where I would rank it, but it's definitely up there. It's one of my favorites of his, the 54 Bowman. Yeah, and I agree with you. The 52 Bowman is up there as well. I don't think that one gets as much attention as it should.
I'm seeing the comments about Mantle's signature. If his early stuff is like that, I didn't know that, so that's good to know.
Right.
It's kind of like more bubbly later, right?
Yeah.
They're both fantastic looking if that's the case.
The half moons, yeah.
But back to that Mantle card for a second. Another tidbit that I found was the photographer from Mantle's from that card was a gentleman named William. William N. Jacobellis.
Yeah.
And what kind of blew my mind was he was based here in the city, and it looks like he was shooting for anyone who would pay him, which I totally understand. And his shop was, it said on the back, please credit his name. And then his address was 14 West 45th Street, New York City, 10036. That's in the city between 5th and 6th Avenue, just above Bryant Park. I looked on Street View, and I couldn't help but notice that the first floor has a small sign shop now. Like sign printing shop. And I'm sure, my mind goes to like, was his studio there? Was the dark room there? Right. Can you walk in and be like, did Jacobellis' stuff get, come to life here? Sure. Absolutely. And yeah.
Is there other stuff to be tracked down potentially from there? That's really cool.
Yeah, and the other thing I saw was the photo for the 54 Topps K-Line rookie. The Type 1 of that sold like a few years ago on Heritage, and it was in Yankee Stadium.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I was like, oh man, that makes it even cooler.
Great, very cool. Okay, so then I gave you the prompt of if you're a vintage collector and you just want to cherry pick a few cards out of this set to have it represented, what are some must-haves for you?
Yeah, so I have a few here, some Hall of Famers, 2 Hall of Famers, and 4 Hall of Famers, and 1 non-Hall of Famer. First one is the Maze,
Yes. Okay. So
which
I got
another dugout. Yeah, the dugout card for this one. Maybe my favorite Maze.
Yes, mine. Yeah, I think it is. It's up there for me for sure.
Just super cool. And actually, on the back of that card is also a timestamp as well for the trivia question. Who holds the American League record for most hits in one season? It was George Sisler in 1920, and Ichiro hit 262 hits in 2004.
Right.
So maybe likely many more games. I forget the number
Yeah.
of games at the time, but yeah, Ichiro has that record now. And then my favorite Whitey Ford card,
Nice.
which is a beautiful card of him with the wind up.
Mm-hmm.
And then one that you've actually shown before, I think you've added to your collection, Alex, fairly recently. This Junior Gilliam.
Yes, I had a
Is
feeling.
so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny because it's so. I don't know. It was a photograph, but it doesn't feel like one at all. It feels like it's totally just an original painting.
Yeah. Yeah. And 2 more dugout cards you just have to have from the set, both from Cleveland and both Hall of Famers and both amazing.
Yeah.
Adobe. And,
Absolutely.
And the Feller.
And the
Again,
Feller
no Gatorade logo on the on the water cooler.
Right. I love the water fountain in the background. It's great.
Yeah, just so cool. And yeah, I mean, great shot of Larry Doby. That card is killer.
Excellent. We had a question that I should throw up on the screen here from Carl. Started building this set a couple years ago. Enjoyed the descriptions on the back. Some are almost comical. Did the card company write these descriptions? Yeah. Did you happen to find anything about that?
I didn't. There are some hilariously, some are similar to 55. So there's that, did the players, were they actually asked or were they written? Likely probably a combination of written by staff and maybe a few were really from the players. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see.
Don said Cleveland cards are overrated.
Okay, how about some? I mean, and by the way, you've been doing a great job of showing a variety of stuff, like showing common cards that don't always get the love, but five common cards or more, because I know you like to break the rules, that are from the set that are some of your favorites, either because of the look of the card or story behind the card.
Yeah, I have a few here. I mean, the number 17, Tom Gorman, New Yorker, just has the best Brooklyn like glasses ever, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
I mean, like he's on a single speed bike on Bedford Avenue.
Yeah, he is.
12 years ago. That card's great. And then the Billy Lowe's card is kind of striking to me. Does anybody know if his eyes were actually that blue? Whoops. They're like striking blue there.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that might just be Bowman saving money on the variations of blue in the printing.
Yeah, I mean, like those would be, you'd have to have special contacts to pull it off, but maybe Billy Lowe's did. And then I can't really talk about 54 Bowman in this time period without bringing up a pretty sharp version of this card, the Larson rookie.
Oh yeah.
Which probably my favorite thing about this card is just the the final line on the back of the card that just says he's considered a bright prospect, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That time period was, coming into this season, it was 5 straight Yankees victories, many of which over Brooklyn.
Yes.
And then 2 years after this, there's the 55 team that finally does it. Then 56, it's heartbreak again. So
that's okay.
You got one, right?
Yeah.
So 2 more commons. The 116 Luke Easter card is just That card's great.
Wow. Yeah.
And the back, I'll read the back 'cause it's super fun. Lucius Luke Easter. The Lucius is not meant to be a descriptive adjective. That's his first name. There's a luscious quality to the sound of his bat connecting with the pitched ball. Luscious to Indian fans, but terrifying to the opposition.
Oh my gosh. That was like somebody just had like a very inspired morning. They got to work. They're like, I'm going to write this fantastic description for Luke Easter.
Right. And
That's
then the
great.
final one is Willie Jones. Another Philly.
Puddinhead Jones. All right.
And they name drop Puddinhead on the back. And basically just says midway through the card, Willie likes to eat chocolate cakes baked by his wife, but he has to forego them during the season to keep his weight at his playing level. Puddinhead led the National League third baseman in filling percentage in 1953 at 975. So even if he wasn't fleet of foot, he could pick it.
He was like up until Schmidt, the best third baseman for the Phillies.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, we did. Mitchell, the feller and his water cooler were mentioned. So Kurt, and have you like in your research, because I know you were going through the bubblegum card war book and some other stuff. Did you come across anything else that you found interesting or new to you about Bowman or about this set or anything in particular?
It looks like, this isn't, groundbreaking news, but it sounds as if Bowman was winning the competition for, contracts at the time with star players.
Yeah.
But wasn't overly focused on young prospects. And that's what we miss out on now. Right. So notable rookie cards in the set really is Harvey Kuenn and Larson, and Kuenn's in both the top set and the Bowman set. But it's from my count, and this could be, again, this isn't set in stone and perfect, but I counted 12 Hall of Famers that were exclusively in Bowman. But we miss out on Ted, sort of. He missed out on Spahn, Jackie, and of course the big three rookies.
Yeah.
So that's something I found out that was kind of interesting with the set. And what else did I find out about the set? I did see a Saber article that does say not about Bowman, but about 54 itself, arguing that it's the greatest year of sets with Bowman and Topps, but also Redman, Red Hart, Dandy, Stallmeyer, Wilson, Franks, right?
Yeah, gosh, there is so much in that year.
So that's something that I dug up, and I was like, that's not a bad argument.
Yeah.
But I was looking back in my dates, though, too, Alex, and you asked a moment ago. I built the 55 set. I finished it in November, like late October, November 2022, and started really picking up cards November 25th, 2022 for 54 Bowman. So, yeah, I don't think I really learned amazing, weird stuff about the set, other than there's 40 variations. There were a lot of small, uncorrected errors and things like that. And they put out corrected errors too. Like
stats and things, right, on the back of the card. Like I know Minoso has a stat variation.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those, and some argue that the full set you need, the master set you need all those variations. I don't have many of the variations. I have all three Saul Rogovins for some reason. But
what are the three Saul cards?
That's a great question. They're in my sets. They're in my set, but I don't remember what they were. I bought them all in like one lot for like $20.
Okay. All
but
right.
they're minor, right? They're like some of them are 512 instead of 521 in certain like at bats or something. So kind of a funny set in that way. And some of the airbrushed Orioles stuff is fantastic too. But yeah, the set's the set. It's not, I don't think it's as in depth as a 55 set.
Right.
I kind of wish they did, umpires every year, which again, flood me in the comments, but
Man, you're just looking for a beating.
Yeah, and the 54 set's cool. 55 is just, I think more complete overall.
Okay, you mean it just in terms of players
Yeah.
and okay, just
Yeah, I think so.
variety.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second year stuff is bonkers too, so it's fun.
Right. I think the backs of the cards are actually pretty nice too. I mean, like I think Bowman actually did a pretty good job. I think I especially like the 55 Bowman backs. Those are really fun. But the backs
Mhm.
are nice and like just well laid out. And just looking at the Willie Mays right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Orlando's right. 55 was 320, and this one's 224.
Right.
Yeah,
So
and the total number of Bowman cards I could in the sets from 48 to 55 was 1,884, unless you count the Williams 1,885, and that's not with all the 1954 variations.
mhm.
So yeah, pretty fun stuff to look at.
So I'm curious. I mean, you've kind of already touched upon it. Like clearly, you like the set. You built the whole thing. But one of the things that's sort of commonly placed on this set is that it's certainly not as interesting as 54 Tops, which we've talked about. And 54
Mhm.
Tops was really a kind of a leap forward in terms of what was possible to have on a card. Whereas this was sort of kind of old hat in comparison. But
Yeah.
I think it's because of that it just sort of gets overlooked. But when you look at this set over the scope of, say, just the 50s, there's a lot of really wonderful, beautiful cards in this set. I think I'm already like answering the question for you, but like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this set in comparison to other stuff that was going on? And why do you think it just gets that, that sort of overlooking, or why do you think collectors
Yeah.
overlook it sometimes?
I think it's the same thing as 55. You don't have the rookies in it.
Yeah.
And I argued last time a bit that, if you had the rookies, I don't think it's the design so much. I think it is the big three or whatnot from each year. Like I think I said last time that the Bobby Orr rookie card for hockey is horizontal and looks like a TV, and everyone loves that card.
Right.
Right. But I think Topps design was cool and new and colorful, right? They did have, they did have some of the young stars and some of the established stars, Williams, for instance, Jackie, all those guys. They basically just missed out on Mantle.
Right.
And yeah, I think it's overlooked a bit because in 53 you had the beautiful color set, and you peeled back a bit from the design production quality of that.
Yeah.
That was pretty easy to find, that the design, that Bowman pulled back just for financial reasons in the 54 design. I just think the lack of rookies and not as colorful a set literally on the back and the front is what holds it back, but also is kind of the beauty of it, the simplicity of it.
Right.
Right.
And from a collecting perspective, it makes it much easier to go after in some respects.
The 54 top set is very difficult to build because it's just very expensive.
Right.
I actually have a couple of cards from the 54 set that I love that I was going to show, and including this, right? It's like, that's a gorgeous card, but I prefer the Bowman because of the dugout shot.
Yeah.
And my other 54 Topps card that I actually have, I have a handful, but the only other one's graded is the K line, which again goes back to our friend, the photographer. So, but the backs are, colorful and they're super cool and have fun stories.
Yeah, you know what? I'm
on them, and
just thinking about it now. Like I love the 54 Topps Willie Mays card for sure, but there's something about this one that I think I like more. And now that I'm like looking at it and talking to you about it, I think it's because this card really like places you there with Willie. Like whereas the other one is sort of like this graphic design experience, which is really cool. But this card like puts you in the dugout with him, and you feel the game a little bit more. Maybe I'm like trying to justify why I like this card more, but there's something about like
Yeah.
seeing him in the element that I think makes it different.
No, I couldn't agree more. It's like they're actually in the stadium instead of at a. You could argue that it's at a photo shoot, and it was, but it was in the stadium, but it could have been anywhere.
Right.
Right. with the admittedly some of the bright, beautiful colors in the background.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is true, but are all like they probably have no in-action shots, in 54 tops either. But that was only 53 Bowman with the.
Oh yes, yes, in action. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't bring that up again. So okay, you got it. I actually just asked if anybody has questions for you, but here you go from Nina. How did you decide to set collect versus player collect or Hall of Fame collect, etc.?
That I wish I had a better answer than I don't recall making a firm decision. I think all those things are really cool. I think Hall of Fame collecting is really fun. I think I do player collect one player, as I mentioned maybe the first time I was on the show. It's Charlie Gehringer.
Yes, that's right.
But yeah, I think just the fun that I had that was the most fun I ever had was building a 55 set. And then I had the very similar experience with 54. So maybe I wouldn't say I'm a completist, but it's fun to build a full set. And I think you can get a little deeper into what was happening in the game at the time. And you inevitably you're going to be surprised with some of the stories and some of the things you learn just from the cardboard.
Right. And also, like, isn't it kind of in a masochistic way fun to discover which cards are going to be the pains to find? Like, oh, I never anticipated that this card was going to be so obscure or scarce, or that it was going to be the one that's always off-centered or whatever.
Yeah. You find those and you're like, why is this dang card $37? Come on.
Yeah.
And then realize that it's maybe it was short printed or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
right.
Yeah.
Here's a good point from Mookie. I think the 55 tops and 56 tops using the same Mace portraits waters down the 54 tops. It makes the 54 Bowman feel a little more special. That's a fair point. Yeah.
Yep.
Here's a tricky question.
Ooh.
Favorite set design from 2000 to present?
Let's see. I don't have too many cards in that. It's a great question. 2000. I mean, I guess my sweet spot is like 86 to like 92 as a kid, loving that stuff so much and like just spending too much money trying to pull the Griffey out of 89 Donruss. Let's see, 2000 to present. I think the 2002 Topps baseball is kind of underrated. It's got an annoyingly gold border that's very susceptible to chipping, and of course they all brick together. But I think the design's kind of underrated. It was a 2000. What year's the Votto rookie? 2007 or 8. That one's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm just going to plead ignorance. I have no idea. Kurt, do you have another set in the back of your mind that you want to start?
Way too many of them, right? Yeah. I mean, I've already started in my mind one and in actuality another. So in my mind is the 53 Bowman color next.
Wow. Exciting.
I have a handful of cards, including another card that I inherited from when my grandfather passed. It's the 53 Bowman Art Hoodeman, but it is autographed.
Oh, well, here, hold on a sec.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So 53 Hoodeman, pretty cool. Native Detroiter, so that's pretty rad. And maybe I'll be on the show in a year and a half when I finish this, because this will take longer, Alex, if you invite me back. But it's this card number 1 of the set that I'm about 55% of the way through, which is 41 play ball.
Yeah. No, we'll definitely do that.
That said, I mean, it's going to take longer in large part because of the same gentleman that's giving me headaches with 54 Bowman with Williams, and other stars. There's so much star power in the set that I can't just go out and buy every card I want as soon as I want it.
Any favorite subsets?
Oh man. I guess I love is it 59 Thrills?
Baseball Thrills, which I think Baseball Time Traveler just did a video about.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Those are really fun. And I do love some of the late 50s All-Star subsets.
Yeah.
But yeah, set building stuff and things like that. I guess I fall into the when Brooklyn left, I'll probably stop there. I went to LA. I'll probably those are my, I think, parameters. I have other sneaking suspicions that I don't think I'll stop with Bowman after 53 color, but I don't want to commit to getting all nearly 2,000 cards of Bowman because 51's ridiculous and 50's not easy and 49's also impossible.
Do you have any, and here's kind of a random question I'll throw at you. Do you have any thoughts on Bowman now that you have built these two sets and are thinking about this other set? Just any overall thoughts about like what they were doing or how they operated as a company in terms of the cards that they made?
Yeah, I think they were actually, if money weren't the be all end all, I think they were actually doing really well in the quote unquote cardboard war. But the sales fell, and I think ownership changed as well at a certain point. But I think they were kind of doing pretty well down in Philly. And I think they punched right up there with Topps until in design and everything until the 55 top set's beautiful. 54 is lovely. 53, they're all really nice, but I think they're just still stupidly underrated. And for us, that's great.
Right.
We can afford them. I think that's part of it. Easier builds than the Topps. And I don't. It's almost like PSA and SGC. I'm non-partisan, but I do love Bowman. But I have cards of both. Right.
Sure. Yeah. I always think it's interesting because we tend, I think, as hobbyists or collectors, we tend to talk about the design or the way that the latest card was received by the public or whatever. But a lot of that is sort of just lore that's been passed down. And one of the things that I find kind of interesting is, like, for example, like 53 Bowman, loving that set as I do, I've come across stories where kids from that time period just quite frankly couldn't find the set. It wasn't that they preferred 53 Topps over, it wasn't like they looked at both of them and said, no, I want Topps. It was that they literally couldn't find Bowman. I think they had a distribution problem. And I remember hearing one story of a collector from that time period who was, a kid, who said whenever a kid brought 53 Bowman to the schoolyard, everybody was like amazed because it was like, how did you find it? It wasn't that they didn't like it. It was that they couldn't find it, which I think is just heartbreaking. Because to me, that's like, it's not that the kids rejected the design. It's that the distribution wasn't good enough. So I think there's like a lot of other like really complicated issues that company was having beyond the designs.
Yeah.
Okay, I had you pick out 5 favorite underappreciated Hall of Famers.
And I chose 5.
What's that?
I actually chose 5.
You chose 5. Okay. There's still time to break the rule.
Nellie Fox is great.
Yes.
Like, you can't, like, did he have oral surgery, or is he more likely just like a huge wad of chew?
Oh yeah. And pretty much every card of his, he's got the wad.
And same thing with the uniform, just so 50s, right?
Yeah.
That one's really cool. And the trivia question on the back is just great too. What player threw a baseball the fastest? And the answer, according to this, is a gentleman named Mark Koenig, Koenig, Yankees, threw a ball 127 miles per hour in 1930.
Whoa.
So eat your heart out, Jacob deGrom. I don't know, but
I've not heard that before.
Yeah. And then the Berra is really, really special.
Yeah.
Like, that's great. And a Yankees trivia question on the back. How many Yankees have played first base since Gehrig? And when this was printed, the answer was 23.
Whoa. That's a lot.
After, 2,130 straight games of Gehrig.
Yeah.
The Minoso is, just great too.
Yes, I love
Likely
that
looks
glove.
kind of dugouty, maybe sitting down near the dugout, but
Yep.
yeah, super cool there. And one more Dodger, Reese.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Reese is sneaky pricey now. Mine has roller marks over his chin, which is unfortunate, but it was still a nice card.
Yep.
And then finally for it's probably my favorite card of his, but the number 15 Ashburn.
Nice. Yeah.
This card's great. Yeah. And yeah, just a really sharp, nice card. It does say that he has a quote interesting habit when he's on the on deck circle. He stands up, gets in position, and swings on the pitches delivered to the batter to help with his timing. I thought a lot of players did that.
Yeah. I didn't know that Richie originated that. Okay.
According to the back of 54 Bowman.
I guess that just means that they were really having trouble getting Richie to say anything, so they just manufactured something.
Yeah.
All right, so we've avoided it this long. Let's talk about Ted Williams.
Who?
You know that guy.
Yeah, number 66, Ted Williams. That is unfortunately a card that I do not possess. So yeah, there's camps who say the set's not complete. There's camps who say it's totally fine to have the 2 Pearsalls. I'd love to get it. I just haven't secured one yet.
Right.
So I do want to add that to the set and to the collection. Just rad card, right? Short,
Right.
like a legit short print.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm guessing you know the story, but for anybody that doesn't, like, what happened there?
My understanding was that Williams had signed with Topps, and Bowman had already released the cards. And from there, I don't know if they actually pulled product from shelf, or if they just didn't print additional product with him in it. Right? I don't. Perhaps someone knows. I went deeper than I did on that, but
Right.
yeah, it's a gorgeous card.
Yeah.
And I know that Brian's here. He had that card for a while.
That's right. So It's like kind of on your radar, but you're done with the set.
I mean, I'm not done with the set. I want to get the card.
Okay.
Yeah, and will I get that before Greenberg or Pee Wee Reese for 41 play ball? I don't know, but that card is definitely going to be added to the set at some point.
Right.
Yeah, not done with it. Yeah. It pains me not to be able to show it real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we like to get real here, so I'm glad that you came clean about it. Yeah, it's a beautiful card, and I mean, I would say your set is complete, but it's going to like that to me is like an extra special card with a fun, interesting story. Like that card kind of represents everything we've been talking about in terms of Topps versus Bowman and everything else. So
yeah, and then Topps had to like lay it on with two cards in the 54 set.
Right, just to rub it in.
Yeah.
Cool. So Kurt, do you have any cards or any parting thoughts, or it can be a combination of both, about this set that you'd like to share?
I have 4 more cards I'll quickly show, then one other item that is not part of the set, but is part of maybe what you put on YouTube the other day, Alex.
Oh, okay.
So I think this gentleman is very underrated, but it's also become I'm a Tigers fan, but the 54 Bowman Keane.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cool card. And I can't not show the 54 Billy Martin.
Yes, it's like, all right,
like Billy Martin. Yeah, right.
I'm not thrilled.
Yeah, and another fun trivia card. Trivia question: how many baseballs are needed before starting a game? I guess the answer is 60.
That's it, huh?
According to this, I don't know. The reverse negative Gene Woodling is cool. 209.
Oh yeah. I don't know that I realized that. That's great.
Yeah, I don't think I'm almost positive I've never seen a corrected version, so I don't think it exists. But if anyone knows if it's super super short print, let me know. And then I'll end with I mostly buy cards raw if I can help it, and sometimes I will grade them, sometimes not. But this was already graded when I bought it. I got a great deal on it. So the Carl Erskine.
Yeah. Man, I love all those blue skies behind them. It's great.
Yeah, but that's it from the set. But yeah, it was a really fun build. I would recommend, actually, if you are considering a set build from this time period for Bowman, and don't need the Williams to quote unquote complete it, this is a pretty reachable set.
Right.
Yeah.
When I finished the 53 set, well, I was getting close to finishing it, and I was kind of just testing the waters to see where I was going to go next. And the first place I went was 54 Bowman, and I actually started collecting a handful of cards, which was really strange to me because I had so rigidly stuck to just the color set. And I picked up what I thought were my favorite cards. I kind of stopped after a while because I decided to go in the pre-war direction. And the only one that I actually kept from that little experiment was the Maze card. But I do, like, I'm actually, like, now that I've kind of figured out how I want to collect post that set, I have gone back and started looking at the 54 Bowman cards. I think there's a lot of really beautiful cards in that set, actually. And like you pointed out tonight, some unique looking cards that just have perspectives that you don't see in other sets.
Yeah, it's super fun. And if you're Alex, if you're going to go back in and collect another set, so jump on in 54.
Yeah,
or
I don't know.
53 black and white.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not doing a set for a while. But I do enjoy kind of picking through that set and like like the Feller, the I think you showed the Dobie. Who else did you show? There's the Hoot Evers. Like, I love that card. Yeah, like the unique ones that to me just stand out so much. Make it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're gonna have to do this again because you've got another set.
Eventually.
It doesn't have to be finished. It could be like a progress report. We could do it that way.
Okay. I was going to show one last thing for the radio fans out there.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you got me thinking with that beautiful video you put out, Alex. So thank you for doing that. And I texted you yesterday. I did spend a couple hours on it. It was a very rainy day. I finally got some personal admin work done here and listened to a very, kind of minor game of 1977, Milwaukee at Detroit. And this gentleman was doing play-by-play, of course.
Oh, man.
So
great.
Super cool. And the little research on the ball. Looks like Lee McPhail was the American League president from 1973 to 84.
Yes.
I like to think that Ernie signed this in the championships year of 84.
Yeah. Or at least in that time frame, right? That's always kind of fun to sort of guess when that actually got signed. When did you pick that up?
Again, one of those things that I inherited.
Cool.
So I think my grandfather picked up in like their early 80s, likely at a ball game.
I mean, I'm picking up on a pattern here. I think it's really cool that you're taking some cues from what you inherited and like it's still going on. That's kind of great.
Yeah. I mean, as I mentioned before, I like when New York teams are doing well, but I'm still a Tigers fan through and through. And I'm definitely going to 2 early season series when Detroit's here early, like April 2nd for the Mets, the Tigers are in town.
Okay.
And then in early May, the Tigers are in town for their only time this year. So it's trying to make sure I get both, but definitely still a Detroit fan. I think we're going to be above 500 and Scooble's going to be nasty, but I don't see us winning the division yet.
Right. Hey, above 500 is a step.
It's a big step.
You got to take what you can get.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Let's end this on this comment here. When you can make family history part of your collection, that makes it all much more special. Totally agree with that.
Totally.
In fact, that's how I started the 53 Bowman Color set. Was like those are cards that I inherited from my dad.
That's right.
All right, guys. So that's going to be it. Next Sunday is going to be a total random free for all as we usually do. And then 2 Sundays from now, Dan, whose comment I just shared, will be on. We'll be talking about some cool stuff. But that's going to be it for tonight, guys. So if you like this live stream about nothing, please give it a thumbs up because it does help. And Kurt, thanks so much for your time. It was so fun to look through these cards and to get your perspective on them. So thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, y'all.
All right. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.